Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out in Ireland with Frank Smith ahead of Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2. Frank, first of all, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Good to be back here. It's going to be a big night Saturday night. Obviously, Dublin back in May. First time in a long time, unbelievable atmosphere. So to be back here, it's going to be a special night.
A lot on the line for Katie Taylor, not in terms of just the undisputed title bouts, but back-to-back defeats to Chantelle Cameron would signify for a lot of people maybe the curtain call for her career. Is that on the line here? Do you feel for Katie? Does she want to continue? Have you had those discussions?
Look, I think all eyes are fully focused on Saturday night. We saw what Chantelle did in that first fight. It was a tremendous fight, tremendous performance from Chantelle Cameron. She came to Katie's backyard and, you know, she won the fight and did a tremendous job. She thinks she'll do the same again when it comes to Katie, you know, and her plans. I don't know. She'll be fully focused and committed to the fight on Saturday. Beyond that, I don't think there's been many discussions. She wants to go back in there and avenge that defeat. I think we're in for another tremendous fight like we had back in May, and I'm very excited for it. And you know, to look past it for both of them just yet, I think is early doors. I think we're in for a great fight, and we should focus on that.
There's another win for Chantelle Cameron, put her up there in terms of getting her profile out further, getting more fans backing her as well, putting the big nights out for her back in Northampton or back in England where she wants.
Yeah, 100%. You know, look, she's been on a tremendous run, Chantelle, you know, and a tremendous run, you know, when she defended or unified in Las Vegas, you know, fought undisputed against Jessica McCaskill in Abu Dhabi. Then the fight here, coming to Katie Taylor's backyard, back again. So, you know, she's in a prime position. And you know, it's great to see because she's worked very hard and deserves everything she's got.
A lot of fights here on the undercard too to talk through, but what's your pick of the undercard? Gary Cully needs to get a win here. Tough fight against Reece Mould. Thomas Carty looking to build off in the heavyweight division as well too. What's your pick of the undercard?
Yeah, I love that Gary Cully Reece Mould fight. It's a brilliant fight. Obviously, Reece was training for a fight back in I think a couple of months ago now, around the beginning of October. Obviously got cancelled the night before or the day of the show. So he's ready. Gary Cully needs a big performance. He's got a lot of pressure on himself as well. We all saw, you know, that Gary's very much primed to take over, you know, where Katie is in her career, whether she got another year, 2 years, whatever she decides. Gary's very much primed to take over that position and be the headline star in Dublin. You know, I think that atmosphere when he walked out for that fight back in May was possibly one of the best things I've ever seen. You know, one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. So Gary's primed to take over that position with Dublin Boxing. There's huge support here for him, but he's got the pressure in a big fight and he's got to get through it.
Did you have to look at the matchmaking specifically for Gary in light of the Jose Felix fight, and why wasn't it Jose Felix as the rematch?
I think we had to. He's obviously with a new team now in Joe McNally. We had to make a fight that everyone was comfortable and happy with. But look, I think Reece Mould, it's a tough fight. It's a real fight, and it's what people want to see. So, you know, I think this brings its own test as well.
Just open up the sphere to wider things in boxing. First of all, didn't see you at the Day of Reckoning press conference. Wondering where you were in your absence, but I was wondering if maybe you were in the room with Frank Warren as well and had a conversation with him, because there's been some back and forth with you in the past too.
No, I wasn't. A few people said I was banned. I wasn't banned. I was actually in LA. I went to LA on the Sunday, and I was always planning to have a quiet few days in LA, which didn't end up being a quiet few days. 2 o'clock wake-up calls every day. But it was great to see. Look, great to see, you know, Eddie up there with Frank Warren. It's been a long time coming, and anything that can help build the sport and make big fights is always beneficial. You know, look, we've all been guilty in the past of saying things. Sure, Frank Warren's called me fat a few times. Very fair though, because I was slightly tubby, or tubbier than I am now. But it's good to see, and you know, hopefully it means we can keep building and growing the sport and making fights not just between us and Queensbury, but other promoters as well. And I think that was plain to see with that announcement, was that there's a big will for a lot of promoters to work together.
There was a feeling from some in the industry that Anthony Joshua wasn't maybe favoured by the Saudis. It was frozen out by, if you believe the thoughts of one WBC heavyweight champion. Obviously this fight, the Day of Reckoning with Anthony Joshua and Otto Wallin, signifies that he isn't. What is the Saudi interest in terms of Anthony Joshua? It's whispered that it's a 3-fight deal. Eddie's confirmed to me that it's a fight-by-fight basis, a 1-fight deal at the moment. But going forward, is there more plans to work with the Saudis and have him feature there prominently?
Yeah, look, I think there's interest from the Saudis in making the biggest fights possible in the sport. and AJ is one of the biggest stars in the sport. So, I think the frozen out comments is, it was just a comment made in various interviews. But look, at the end of the day, they want to make the biggest possible fights, and AJ will always be involved in those biggest possible fights. So, again, it's great to see massive fights being made, not just AJ, but obviously Wilder, Joseph Parker as well. Obviously they've made Fury Usyk now for the undisputed Feb 17th, amongst many others. So good to see.
Speaking of Anthony Joshua, a lot of talk whenever he opens his mouth for good and bad. It seemed like he was maybe agitated at that press conference there. Didn't want to answer the questions of everyone to speak to Eddie Hearn as his promoter. Fair enough if that's the case. But a lot of people kind of microanalyze Anthony Joshua's talk or conversation. What was your understanding of how Anthony Joshua's demeanour was at that press conference?
Yeah, look, people love to obviously, like you say, analyse every single thing that Anthony Joshua does, but not other people. As other people in the sport, they seem to pick up on every little detail of what he does. I don't read too much into it. AJ's been with Matchroom and Eddie since he turned pro. He likes the way we do things, and I think he just wanted him to ask questions. I don't think he's that deep, to be honest. I think people read into things a lot. I don't think there's too much to read into.
What about the link up with Ben Davidson? Are we to believe that it's not a permanent deal and just one to be temporary just for this fight with Wallin?
I believe, look, it was obviously very short time frames as well. 6 weeks out, with the time to do a press conference, come back to the UK, go to Saudi. Obviously Derek's got Ryan Garcia as well, fighting on December 2nd, I believe it is. So there would have been a lot of moving out, and I think AJ's got a very good relationship with Ben Davidson. He's obviously a tremendous trainer. So yeah, I think that's the focus for this fight, and go from there.
In terms of the fights on the line for AJ in the future, going through Otto Wallin, a lot of people want this Wilder fight, seeing the two at the press conference saying, why aren't they facing off as opposed to the two fights that are on the table at the moment there? Has that been discussed to finally get that fight down? I know it's been obviously discussed in the past, but in terms of it finally getting over the line, is it possible? Is it plausible?
There's been discussions for a long, long time, as you say. I think we're all sick and tired of talking about it and it not being delivered. So I think the focus is now deliver the big fights. Wilder is amongst those names of massive fights that people want to see, and I'm confident we'll see that. But I think the two fights themselves, I think the Otto Wallin fight's a tough fight for Anthony Joshua and a great fight. I think the fact is, like you say, fans wanted to see the two of them being at the top table together. It would have been great to see them fighting, but I'm confident we'll see it in time, and I'm sure we'll get there.
Is there a reason as to why Eubank Jr. has been delaying an announcement? I believe it was imminent at one point. What's the deal behind the scenes in terms of getting that fight over the line? For
Conor Ben, look, it's not done yet. It's not done. We're working hard to get there. Conversations every day. It's the fight that makes the most sense for everyone. But these things take time. Fights of this magnitude and size take time to make. I'm confident we can get there. A bit of work still to be done, but hopefully we'll see it.
Is there Saudi interest in that fight?
I'm not sure. I mean, my focus has been, as we've spoken about, February 3rd at Tottenham, or Jan 27th in Cardiff, and that's what we're focusing on for that fight in the UK.
There's a lot of focus on a conversation between Frank Warren and Adam Cattrall over the weekend. Have you seen that? Where do you stand on that debate between the two?
I'll be honest, I only saw the minute or so clip which was edited, so I didn't see the whole conversation. It was quite funny actually, watching the two of them, but I only saw a minute of it, so I haven't got much context.
Open up the wider discussion about that though, and potentially about banning outlets and for having differing opinions and conversation, criticism, whether it's right or not, just in a general sense. Would there be anything that an outlet could ever do that Matchroom would consider banning someone from attending?
I don't think any outlet should be banned from anyone. I think, like, at the end of the day, it's journalism. You have to cover things. You have to, providing it's factual and accurate information being, like, that's the only way I'd see something. If there was something, a lie being spread, then it's a different story. But if you have an opinion on something and you have your side of the story, then fair play. I don't think we'd ever, you've known us long enough, we'd never say no to talking to anyone regardless of a relationship with someone. So it is what it is, a bit of fun and games, and I'm sure we'll see much more of it in years to come. That's the great thing about boxing, it divides opinion, and good thing we get to see people together going at it.
Alicia Bilyeu is divided in opinion right now. She's put out a statement there saying that she's been for an independent review and stating that she's been cleared and couldn't have that substance found in her system. Has that been presented to you? Is there a course of action for Alicia to return to the ring?
Yeah, look, I think it has to, obviously, we're not the adjudicator, obviously, of these matters. It has to be reviewed by the commission and the sanctioning bodies. They're the party that will make a decision on it. She's put a lot of effort, as of her team, putting together, outlining these facts that she's from her investigation. That will obviously go to the commission and the sanctioning bodies, and then they will make a decision from there. And I think, as we've always said and maintained with all of these cases, with anyone involved, they deserve their opportunity to clear their name if they can put a case there. So that's, I'm sure will follow soon.
I've seen at the corner of my eye Josh Warrington.
Yeah.
What's the latest with him? He's pushing the rematch with Lee Wood. Has that moved any further?
I was just chatting to him about it. Look, the key, that's the fight. For me, that's the fight, is the Lee Wood Josh Warrington fight. I think there's a storyline there. I think the first fight was, obviously, look, Josh Warrington was well ahead in that fight, and Lee Wood pulled it out the bag. I'll be honest, the waiting game is with the City Ground right now. We're in discussions with them. They've got a number of other events going on. As we got to make sure it all works with the various schedule of other sporting events. They're relaying their pitch as well. So, I'm confident we'll get it done, but we're in constant discussion and dialogue with them right now.
Right, much more on the table. I'll leave it for another day. Thanks for speaking to SecondsOut, sir. Good conversation.
Good to see you.